Hello, my name's James Musselwhite, a portrait photographer here in the UK and pointer and shooter behind the project A Portrait of a Wrestler. This is video number 5 and we are discussing portraits this week, and specifically the portrait of Doug Williams, a gentleman we first met in 2014 when the project first got underway. Doug was recommended to come and see us by another wrestler who will feature in another video, but he was about the fourth wrestler that we shot as part of the project, and he was kind of like a big deal to us, and he came to us with a sense of gravitas because I knew his history. I'd seen him on sort of like the TV, and he was kind of like a big deal when he came over here. He was very kind enough to sort of give us an hour of his time in studio, and we tried a number of things with him. Still at this point not really sure what direction the project was going to take, so I'm just going to take you through a few of the images now and just discuss some of the lighting and some of the effects that we tried on Doug. This first image here, obviously he's got this hand gesture that we're sort of familiar with, and the little eyebrow raise that I was always trying to get out of him. This is a simple lighting setup, just I think it's a 2-light setup with like a panoramic softbox above and one beneath, and I've got quite a small studio, and to have like a 1.5 meter panoramic softbox in your studio takes up quite a lot of space, so this softbox got ditched fairly early on. I like the processing on this one. I like the grainy texture in the skin. I like the way that it sort of brings out a real character to Doug in this one. Next one, this was like our second championship belt we'd photographed. Like I say, he was the fourth person, and we'd only had one championship belt in, so it's kind of like a big deal at the time to actually get a championship belt in. Made a mistake on this one in terms of I hadn't quite perfected my rim lighting, so the rim light on the far left hand side wasn't quite round enough. I haven't got particularly great catch lights in the eyes, or any catch lights in the eyes on that side at all, so it's kind of like a failed experiment on this one. But I kind of like the attitude. I like the low angle looking up at him. I like the fact that we've managed to showcase the belt pretty well there. This one's straight on into the camera, a nice long lens on this one. I think I may have been using my 85mm on a 7D body, which with the cropped sensor meant that 85 would have gone up to about a 120. So at this, at around about f5.6, some of the details, particularly the shoulders, start to go sort of out of focus, and we can concentrate on the eyes in front, with 2 rim lights either side to give us that sort of highlight effect on either side of the face and across the shoulders to differentiate from the background. Quite like that one. Once again, at this point, Doug had bought a towel with a Union Jack on and had his belt as well, so we were messing about with trying to get the dry ice around him, and I think it was our first experiment into dry ice and trying to get that to work. So it took a couple of attempts. At this point, Doug is actually walking in our studio, and I'm just looking at my studio now thinking, how? The studio, if anything, we have about 4 meters worth of length in it, so it's not particularly long. I really wanted this sense of motion, this sense of going from one foot to the other and leaning from one side to the other, so we really had to accentuate that for me. We got rid of all of the props in the next one and just went for a simple shot here through the smoke, which I thought worked really well. It's a 2-light setup with the main light coming in from the right hand side here, and then we've also got a slight rim light on the side here, just to pick up a bit of detail in the face and on the side of the hair. But quite a nice portrait, that one. Next one, we're starting to experiment with a few filters. Like I said, I didn't really know where the project was going at this point. Probably wouldn't use a filter this strong these days, but what is important about this shot is the background, and we can see that in the next shot. Is the background that we've used isn't been dropped in. We haven't shot him on a green screen or on a white background and then dropped it in. We've literally hung his towel up against the back wall and just posed him against it, so we've got full control of the fall off of the light and full control on his positioning and where we want him to be, and it's a completely in-camera shot. But it's the next shot we're looking at now, which is the one that we chose eventually for our qualification panel. We draped the Union Jack over his shoulders, brought both hands into the shot, have him looking straight down the middle of the camera, and we just wanted something that evoked something of character, something of maturity, and something of being in the business for years and travelling the world and representing his country. And I thought that was quite a powerful sort of statement image, and this might have been the first image that we cropped 3x2 as a portrait, and I kind of like the style of that, kind of like the simplicity of it, kind of like the fact that the eyes work on the top third here and then all the details in the bottom third coming down there, and it's probably what inspired the rest of the project to look like that. So in January 2018 we went to go and photograph Progress Wrestling in Camden, chapter 62, and we had the opportunity to see and meet Doug again. We'd seen him a couple of times outside of wrestling events on social occasions, but this is the first time I actually had my camera in hand and had the opportunity to photograph him. I just asked him if there was an opportunity to do that, and as professional as he was in our first shoot, he was professional again. We didn't take more than 60 seconds in the shoot, didn't want to take up too much of his time, but I think the relationship that we'd built over this project and going forward, we have trust in each other that we're going to get something in that time. And this was the image we created for Doug. Simple shot, set up against a slightly blue wall that sort of combines well with his blue wrist tape. And just a single light setup, nice soft light just skimming across the whole image there, just sort of telling a story of, again, what I tried to tell in the previous shot. The same story, just a story of a man who's been around the business, seen it all, done it all, and has a hell of a lot of stories to tell. So that's Doug Williams. Next week we'll be revisiting for the last time Jimmy Havoc versus Mark Haskins in their death match at Alexandra Palace Progress Wrestling. Join us for that. If you want to follow me on Instagram, on Twitter, it's Y2JimBob. If you want to like and subscribe to this channel, that would be marvellous. And as always, as we always end these videos, all the very best.